Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news and takeover news and transfer news update as well. Nick's just said worst news of today is Garnacho getting injured in training, may miss the Bournemouth game now. Nick, please tell me this is a joke. I haven't even read that news. I mean, there's some bad news today. We got today. Manchester United cannot do anything in transfers until this takeover is sorted. It looks like Manchester United won't be doing anything in transfers for a while. And Garnacho might be injured. What a start. But look, I want to wrap into today's news and we'll then just talk about general stuff. So actually there has been some positive news today. There's a couple of reports coming out saying Joel and Avram want to sell. They don't want to stay if they're not going to have power. The idea of staying and not having power into Sir Jim potentially isn't appealing to them. PSG are trying to swoop in for Kim Min-jae, so that's something the United need to keep an eye out. But Fabrizio Romano did a video today. He said Manchester United will sign a midfielder. Manchester United doesn't matter what happens with Sabitzer. They will sign a midfielder, and they want to sign a good midfielder. This comes after reports from Samuel Larkhouse, Rob Dawson, and multiple other journalists that United will want to sign one quality midfielder, one quality striker, and put defensive reinforcement in this transfer window. And the frustrating thing about that is it's very obvious what we want to do. It's very obvious what Ten Hag wants to do. He's been thinking about it for a while, but when we can actually start and get down and do it, I don't know. But David Ornstein did do a good update on the takeover today, and what I love about David Ornstein's update that I'm going to get into in a sec is the honesty in David Ornstein. He's very much said, this is what's happening, this is what I think, this is annoying because we don't know this is what we do know, this is what we don't know. David Ornstein's kind of said, rather than being like all the journalists, you kind of say a story. David Ornstein's very much summed up the transfer, the takeover process from a journalist perspective, which I think is a really good story. So I don't know why I'm so thirsty. I think it's because it's been kind of sunny today. I'm going to get into that now. Hopefully, it's not too laggy as well. Garnacho just got back from an injury. That is unlucky. Hopefully, Garnacho isn't too bad. Maybe we rushed him back. I'm not sure. But as soon as I go live, I get this notification that my Wi-Fi is going poor. It's like I'm cursed. It's like as soon as I want to go live, no, the Wi-Fi has been poor. But basically, Ben Jacobs done a story today, and he said, you know, there's potential and there's a belief that all 6 Glazer siblings want to sell, including Joel and Avram. He said that the Glazers don't like the idea of maybe staying, potentially, if they can't have power or control. Jim Ratcliffe doesn't plan to give the Glazers control, and Jim Ratcliffe plans to get rid of the Glazers in the next 3 to 5 years. So even if the Glazers stay, they'd just be staying for 20% of the club for another 3 years. And there was an indication that the Glazers might not be interested in that. And there has been some positive indication towards Sheikh Jassim's bid. But I'm going to get into the David Ornstein story because I think that kind of covers it all. And then I'm going to get into the Romano story about Man United signing midfielder. And then we'll do like a buy, loan, sell, general Manchester United news throughout the video. Sound and stream quality is okay. That's all right. I'm just worried that the quality goes down because I don't know why, but I just seem to get bad Wi-Fi or unstable connection whenever I go live. And I'm cursed. But need the Qatar bid. United fans need to stop looking back forwards. 1999 was 24 years ago. City making new history, and we will talk about that City travel among other news as well. So it was obviously said, as you can see on the screen here, from David Ornstein. I don't think Man United can do a great deal in transfers until there's clarity of the ownership situation. And David Ornstein's right. All Manchester United can do in transfers as of now is hold talk to those players. Now, tomorrow's video is going to be a good video. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed, because tomorrow I'm going to do a video about Manchester United's budget, who they've spoken to, who Ten Hag wants to sell, and I'm going to break every little bit of information we know down regarding transfers, who we're speaking to, because all we could do in transfers is actually speak to people and say, look, this is what we want to do. We're going to do this maybe in July. We can speak to Kim Min-jae and get this all sorted, and hopefully by July, when his release clause is activated, United can pay that release clause, etc., etc. United can speak to people, United can present their project to people, but United can't offer any kind of contracts, offer any kind of money, get anything done until this takeover is done. So I want to dive into David Ornstein's story without getting the whole thing up. So let's see what they've put here, because he obviously went on to 5. And these are sort of the main quotes of what he had to say as well. So David Ornstein said, regarding the Manchester United ownership process and transfers, right now, to my knowledge, Manchester United can't move on transfers and might have to sell before they bring in anybody. I know what you're thinking. We can't do anything because of the takeover. We don't have much money if the Glazers, especially if the Glazers stay. if we get Qatar, I think we have 120 million before breaking FFP, which we can obviously get around with long contract. Obviously, we can sell players, etc. But if we keep with the Glazers, we're going to have very little money. It's going to be buy to sell. Well, we're going to have less time to buy and less time to sell because of this takeover. And he's saying because of the ownership process and because of transfers, United really can't do much right now. We know Romano is saying, look, United are going to sign a midfielder. United are going to try and striker. United would like to look at goalkeepers and defensive reinforcement. But we can't do anything as of now, is what Ornstein is saying. And he says, I don't think they could do a great deal of transfers until they have clarity on the ownership situation, says Ornstein. So Ornstein kind of, I guess you can say, stating what we already know. United cannot do a lot. United cannot get stuff done until they sort out these transfers, etc., etc. He said, I've spoken to some people, that they say we are not far off a conclusion to the Manchester United process, whether that's a full or partial investment. But he's saying the conclusion is near. But does near mean next week? Does near mean next month? Because we thought the conclusion was near in February, and it wasn't as well. So that's all difficult as well. Big up everybody in the chat, by the way, as well. 3 to 5 minutes is too long, let alone 3 to 5 years, says Paul. I agree. I can't have the Glazers here for another 3 to 5 years as well. Alice, you're beautiful. Thank you very much. Alice, do you think the Glazers are just doing this to get their own PR done and try to show that we are looking for the right owners? I doubt it, because if they were looking for the right owners, they know who the fans want. It's very obvious, and they would have sold by now. All 6 Glazers remain determined, said as Qatar's latest offer is currently being assessed. Rain Group is still controlling the next steps, is obviously the report on Qatar. We're going to dive into that story in just a second as well. The Rain Group could be doing this on purpose to get a shout at their money. I think the Rain Group are getting fed up, actually, to be honest. I read reports that, the Rain Group kind of getting bored of this. But again, I don't know if the reports are really true. Paul says City is proof of what a Super World project looks like and when it's finished, and that's why a lot of fans will want Qatar. If we show up for it on the day, we can beat cheating City in the FA Cup final. We have already beat them at Old Trafford. It's up to the players. I agree. That game is really up to the players, but I don't trust these players in big games. We saw 7-0 to Liverpool as well. City is on a scary level. We'll never compete with City if you don't have an ownership model to the one they have. Having Sergio Ratcliffe model is going to a gunfight with a knife. And I agree. I think that's a good way to put it. And I do want to talk about this at some point. I do want to get through the news. I do want to talk about this, but the more and more I see Manchester City and how good they are, we could talk about the 115 FFP charges and, the fact that, they have lied about how much money they generate, so they've been able to spend more on money, and they have spent a significant amount of money. And they are cheaters, but they've spent the money well. We've spent a significant amount of money. We obviously generate that money, so, we're not breaching FFP to do that. But they spent their money significantly better than us. And Pep Guardiola's done a brilliant job. Look at the money Chelsea spent. They can't recreate what Pep's done. Now, Manchester City have done a fantastic job with their money. They've got a fantastic manager, and they have a fantastic squad. Whether how they've gone about it is right or wrong, we can debate that. But Manchester City, we can say at the end of the day, is absolutely levels clear of Manchester United. I hate to say that, but Manchester City are so far ahead of Manchester United. They are so good. They're everything we want to be. They play beautiful football. They're going to match our three-peat, which only we had done. And now they're potentially going to match our treble that only we have done. And our history, the things that we've achieved, it's going to be made less special because Manchester City are going to match that. They're going to finally get their hands on the Champions League. Touch wood that Inter come and do something. Lukaku, Mkhitaryan, Darmian, you've got a bloody mission. But, Manchester City, could achieve greatness and match our history because they've been, done well under sovereign wealth. That's what, a good run project is with good investment. And, Manchester United have fallen behind City for the last 10 seasons. We've not beaten, City have finished above us the last 10 seasons. We're miles behind Manchester City. And, with this takeover process delaying our transfer window, we can't catch them. If Sergio Ratcliffe stays, well, then we're not going to have the money to even do the facilities, yet alone, beat out Manchester City. The only way United can beat City is if Qatar go up against Abu Dhabi and, Qatar have the money to do that. Now, Qatar have the money to go up to date with Man City, but it's also how they spend the money. Us getting Qatar doesn't mean that we're going to be like Man City. Look at Chelsea spending money, absolutely reckless. But it's about getting people like Qatar in that can actually match with Man City, because Man City, before it, will have 3 Champions Leagues and match us at the rate it's going. And they will finish above us 20 seasons in a row. It's been 10 years in a row Man City finished above us, and that is unacceptable for a club of our size compared to a club of their size. That shouldn't be happening. But that's what happens when you get oil money and you're a well-run club. And if United, and whether you like the idea of Premier League clubs being owned by Middle Eastern oil money, that is the way it is going. That is facts. If you want to, and people won't like this, but if you want to be the best club in the world, if you want to be a top club, you need that Manchester City, PSG kind of money. Football is about money. And that is the way that it's going. And, you know, the fact that people are creaming themselves going, oh, we need Sir Jim, and he'll keep the Glazers here and he can't do this and he can't do that. When Manchester City are on the verge of a treble and Qatar will come in and they can do this, this and that, and they can invest straight away, Man City are going to get further and further ahead of us. They're getting too far ahead of it as it is. They're equaling our records. United need to get this ownership situation sorted, get owners in that are serious, that have the capability to match Manchester City, which is Sheikh Jassim, whether you like it or not. I don't know if they'll run the club as well as Sheikh Mansour. I don't know if they'll be as good strategically in the transfer market because you can spend a lot of money, and as I said, you've got to spend it well. But while Man City getting further and further ahead, we're faffing over, are the Glazers going to stay? Are the Glazers going to go? Well, the Glazers cannot compete with Manchester City, so they might as well go. They might as well give us to someone that can potentially keep with Manchester City, because the further and further they get away, the longer we've got to catch up to Manchester City. And I don't like that. We've got to play catch up to Manchester City now, and we're Manchester United. I want this takeover sorted because I don't want to be thinking about Man City winning a Premier League or a Champions League ever again. I want to be the Man United where you go, we're stopping Man City. I want to be sitting here in 10 years' time saying we finished above Manchester City the last 10 years. Manchester City haven't seen a Premier League title in 10 years because United have won it. But I don't see that with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And I'm not saying we're going to see that with Qatar, but it's more possible with Qatar, because whether you like it or not, football is going the way where if you have the sovereign wealth, if you have that Qatari money, if you have that Middle Eastern money, that's what you need. Inter to beat City in the final. I mean, they've put 4 past Bayern Munich and 4 past Real Madrid. But you know what? The only thing I can say is it won't be at the Etihad. And Manchester City are unbelievable at the Etihad. But in a stadium that's neutral, where Manchester City could only bring all 10 of their fans compared to thousands of Inter fans, potentially Inter have a chance. But let's be honest, I think the only way Manchester City cannot win the treble is if United players show up. If the United players show up, if they do their Liverpool, and this is the problem, when we show up, we can match Manchester City. If these players, you know what? This FA Cup, and I saw someone say this FA Cup is a real test of the mentality of the squad. If you play for Manchester United, if you are a Manchester United player, you should know how much this treble means to us. You should know how big this treble is for Manchester United, and you should know that letting arch rival City match the treble and the three-peat is unacceptable. So, if Manchester United do not show up in an FA Cup final, it will tell us everything we need to know about the mentality of this current set of players. I like Ten Hag. I think he's a good man manager. I think he's got good mentality. We won the Carabao Cup final, and Ten Hag didn't treat it to any other different match day, whereas Eddie Howe was, letting Newcastle players stay in a special hotel. But if the United players have got the mentality, we shouldn't let City win as well. Man United sale news is depressing. Glazers just making Man City stronger. And the longer and longer the sale comes on, the more the thing budges. Joshua Kimmich available for 60 million in the summer. I mean, we've got Casemiro, but I wouldn't say no to Kimmich as well. True, Alice, we can't end up being the new Arsenal, hobbling around 4th spot each season. Now time to put our foot down and make things happen for us. Exactly. We are Manchester United. We're the biggest club in England. Let's start acting like the biggest club in England, because we haven't acted like the biggest club in England for over a decade as well. Smash the like button if you want Glazers out as well. Props to former gunner Emile Petit for cursing Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his company for lack of ambition at Nice. Do you know what? This is a good comment. This is a really good comment, because I tell you what, the British media have been doing Sir Jim Ratcliffe PR my arse. As soon as there's a report out about, do you know what? I want to say this, and I do want to get into the news, but I just want to say this. I see a British media report. It might have been by The Athletic or someone, doing a report that, Sheikh Jassim's put a new bid in. And the picture on that report is a banner of about 2 United fans holding the no to Qatar. So when The Athletic report on Qatar, they do a picture of United fans holding a banner saying no to Qatar, which is like a 0.001% of United fans. But then when Sir Jim Ratcliffe puts in a bid, they just put a nice picture of Sir Jim, and then they get people like Peter Schmeichel, who went to Nice, to talk about Sir Jim this, and then they get other people to talk about Sir Jim this, and people at Nice, and they all start bigging up Sir Jim, and they start doing this Sir Jim Ratcliffe PR. And then there's a report about Qatar, and they're posting pictures of the 2 Man United fans who put a No to Qatar banner up at West Ham. And I'm thinking, well, actually, Manchester United fans feel a lot stronger about Sir Jim Ratcliffe than Qatar. But the British media, when they report on Sir Jim Ratcliffe, are talking about good things, getting Peter Schmeichel to come on Sky Sports, say all these positive things about Sir Jim, loyal United fan, report on Qatar, the 2 fans that held it up No to Qatar banner, acting like the United fans don't want Qatar. I don't get that. And big up to Emmanuel Petit for coming out and saying no. You know, I don't know what the British media are on about. They're getting Peter Schmeichel, they're getting this person on, they're getting this person on, saying that Jim Ratcliffe could do this, this, and this. And the British media are bigging up Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And then you've got Petit, who's obviously French and knows a lot about Nice, saying no. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's not done this, not done that. Look at Nice, blah, 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 blah. You know, someone is calling out Sir Jim Ratcliffe because his PR in the British media is unbelievable. And someone said on my live stream the other day, and I can't remember who it was, they said, remember when it was Poch versus Ten Hag? Were United going to get Poch? Were United going to get Ten Hag? And, you know, everyone in the British media was bigging up Poch. They were kind of being negative about Ten Hag, saying, you know, he's not Premier League proven. A lot of stories were being Poch PR. They had Poch on Sky Sports talking about the Man United players. Sky Sports are responsible for this. They get Schmeichel talking about Sir Jim and bigging up Sir Jim on Sky Sports when we're linked to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. When we're linked to Pochettino, they get Pochettino on Sky Sports talking about United players, who's good, what you do with this player, saying this United player is special, etc., etc., etc. But they didn't do that with Ten Hag, and they don't do that with Qatar, because when the British media have the person that they think is perfect, the most British, the most Premier League, not the foreigner, not the Arabs, you know, that's what they're insinuating. They go and they do this PR for the other people, and it kind of winds me up because I think, you know, Ten Hag's done a fantastic job. But I tell you this now, Ten Hag was not nominated for Manager of the Season. Yeah, and people will say, okay, but no, let's be realistic. We thought, well, I thought, and a lot of you were with me when we did my prediction, that United were going to come 6th or 7th. We did not think at the beginning of the season, when we lost 2-1 to Brighton and 4-0 to Brentford, that United were going to finish in the top 4 or win a trophy. We thought 6th, we thought 7th. We thought it would be a very, very long season. We wouldn't be near the top 4. In fact, we've won a trophy. We're in a final. We should make the top 4. We've played good football. Ten Hag has overachieved expectation. And I'm not saying that Ten Hag should win Manager of the Season, because Ten Hag shouldn't win Manager of the Season. But if there's 6 managers nominated for Manager of the Season and Ten Hag is not one of them, I don't understand that. Because had that been Pochettino, who's had the exact same season as Eric Ten Hag has had, Pochettino would be in there for the Manager of the Season nominations. And you can argue with me on that, but the way the media, even the Gary Nevilles, the Jamie Carragher's, the Sky, the media were talking about Pochettino compared to Ten Hag when we were choosing between Poch and Ten Hag, it was clear that they favoured Pochettino. And had Pochettino had the exact same season as Eric Ten Hag, he would be in there nominated for Manager of the Season. Ten Hag isn't. And it's like this with the Sir Jim Ratcliffe Sheikh Jassim debate, because the British media are all over Sir Jim Ratcliffe. As soon as we got a report about Qatar, the British media are saying Qatar will strip United of its soul. The Athletic literally reported on Qatar with a No to Qatar banner at the top, and there's reports that Qatar, who promised instant investment in Manchester United, instant investment in Manchester United, in the Manchester area, in the Manchester facility, which Jim Ratcliffe cannot promise because he doesn't have the funds to. But this Qatar, the British media are going, this is going to, you know, strip United of their soul. Stripping United of their soul is the Glazers, who have been here 17 years, taking penny after penny after penny out of this club and dragging on this takeover process so long that it could ruin our transfer window. But the British media think Qatar will strip us of our soul, who will invest money in, just because they're from the Middle East. And yes, there are some questionable human rights, and I'm not saying that the human rights are good over there. I'm not implying that at all. I'm just saying from a footballing perspective, the way football is going, if you want to be the best team in the world, you're going to need owners that are ambitious and are going to invest heavily. And you get that with Qatar. But Qatar will strip United of their soul, but the greedy Glazer parasites who take money out of United for 17 years apparently haven't taken our soul, so why will Qatar? And then, you hear about Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and as soon as Sir Jim Ratcliffe done this, they want to interview all Sir Jim Ratcliffe's friends and all these Sir Jim Ratcliffe puppies who were going to big up Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And it's like, well, if you're interested in doing all this for Sir Jim Ratcliffe and painting this big positive picture of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, why are you doing articles about Qatar?
you know, I mean, look, I'm not, obviously Qatar have done their PR as well. There are people in the media who have done some PR for Qatar, although it's not really the media, it's more a few Twitter accounts that I wouldn't be shocked if Qatar were paying them something for some of the things they put out, because I'm not saying that, you know, everything is just pro-Sir Jim Ratcliffe in the media. I've seen United accounts tweet some things about Qatar that aren't true, saying that Qatar have done this, this and this, which aren't true, and I think maybe they're being Qatar PR here. But there's a complete bias in the British media, and that's what I don't like. It's like, you know, really look at this in a fair perspective. At the end of the day, the Glazers are greedy. We don't know what the Glazers are going to pick. They've got to pick something soon because they've got to pay 200 million back by that June deadline, and we've got to transfer the winner to get onto as well. And that is kind of my rant. So I will get it back into the live chat, as I'm really behind on that. We're on 106 likes, so let's go for 200 likes as well. Why can't Qatar just say here's 6 billion, bish bash bosh? Because they're businessmen at the end of the day, and I understand this. Qatar have a lot of money, but Credit Suisse has gone down, so they actually need to be a little bit more careful with this money. They might have less money than they thought they originally had. But if Qatar just caved in and went to the Glazers, here's 6 billion, and walked out, then everyone else who does business with these Qatari people will know that they want something in their fold. So it's like you've still got to, you know, it's your business reputation as well. Kimmich looks like he's going Barcelona. I think he will. Mr. Randomizer says Qatar will win. Whoever gave the signs to those fans is a disgrace. Doesn't follow rats, follows real people like Eric Ten Hag and Qataris. Says Mr. Randomizer. And look, I'm not saying that you have to support the Qatar bid. I'm not saying you have to be pro Qatar or pro Sheikh Jassim. I'm not implying that in the slightest. In my opinion, the only way the Glazers completely leave this club is if we get Qatar. And, you know, if there was someone that came along that promised to get the Glazers out that I thought were better than Qatar, then I would be bigging up that person. I'm not saying that Qatar are perfect. There are Qatari-run clubs that aren't the world best run. I don't think PSG, while they spend money, is the best run club in the world. But PSG have established themselves as a massive brand, had success, and they are ambitious, and they want to be the best club in the world. And I'm not saying that Qatar is perfect or the best club in the world. And I know there's issues in Qatar and that part of the world. But for me, if it's the Glazers staying or the Glazers going, I will always back the option of the Glazers going, which is why my preferred owner is Qatar. That is the option of the Glazers going. I also want what I think is best for Manchester United, which, if you look at Newcastle, you look at PSG, you look at Manchester City, would be all your money over Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because Qatar can come and they can invest, they can do this, they can do that right away. Sir Jim Ratcliffe can't. And, you know, this is why, you know, I can understand why some people won't, you know, be in big favour of Qatar. But I don't understand why there are people out there that are making this big deal and this big negative narrative out of Qatar, but would want the Glazers to stay. And the annoying part is these same people who are very anti-Qatar, I saw them on Twitter yesterday praising Manchester City's owners and what they've done. So you're telling me that if Qatar own United, that is awful, that is dreadful, we can't let that happen, we need Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But then you go and tweet about how well Manchester City's owners have done. This, that, you know. There's just a certain level of hypocrisy as well. Weird there have been no to Ratcliffe banners. The takeover turned into a I can't pronounce the word, but I know what you mean. Politicized media circus, and it has. This takeover has turned into a media circus. This takeover has been 6 months of media circus, 6 months of media boreness. This takeover has been dragging, and actually it's going to drive me crazy, because I'm actually going to get into reports in just a second, but surely it needs to just hurry up. It needs to do his course. It needs to hurry up as well. The reason he's getting PR is because he's English, like English players would. There is an English bias in the media. Ratcliffe is English. Oh, it's better than Sheikh Jassim. That's what they'll be doing as well. Jim Ratcliffe is a rich and bored old man, says you. And these effing Glazers are American. They don't give a crap about European football. My blood boy every time I see a Glazer. And they don't care about football. They don't care about football as well. I'm going to scroll down because I'm so behind on the live chat as well. We need to sell a lot of Deadwood to fund transfers this year. It's frustrating to think we could scratch around the bargain bin again this year. Yeah, we're going to get into the transfer news because Romano said we are going to sign a midfielder. There is some more takeover news to get into. I haven't even got into the title of this video, Ben Jacobs' story that the Glazers do want to sell, which is a big positive for Qatar, but I'm very behind on the live chat as well. Maguire back to Leicester. Well, actually, Maguire could be going to West Ham as well. Glazers have put a 5.5 billion bid reportedly. And so far, Qatar is the best option. Well, I believe that Qatar is the best option, but the British media don't necessarily believe that. Continuing on with Manchester United news, and I want to get into just continue what David Ornstein said. But David Ornstein said this: You speak to people at Manchester United, and one day they hear it's Ratcliffe, and then it's Qatar, or even minority investments as favourite, but nobody knows. Only a few people around the Glazers know. And I thought this, and I apologise, it's taken me 25 minutes to get into this quote, but I think this quote by David Ornstein speaks real volumes. He says, you speak to people at United, and one day it's Ratcliffe, one day it's Qatar, and the next day they tell you a minority investments favourite. He's saying whenever he speaks to United, he is getting a different story from United about who is the favourite. And if you notice, and I think Ornstein's a very clever journalist, he's kind of a guy, he's a good journalist, Ornstein, he's a clever journalist, because I think he's a guy that it's like, he's realised it's about quality, not quantity. I work for The Athletic, we're on payroll, it's not about clicks, it's about quality, not quantity. And there's Manchester United journalists that are putting out something on the takeover every other day, and they're contradicting themselves to say this one day, this another day. David Ornstein has been very quiet on the takeover. He's not said much in the last month, really. And I think that's because David Ornstein knows that he gets a different answer every time he asks about the takeover and who's the favourites, that he's realised that actually it's not worth reporting on, because then he might be saying something different. Then he might be saying something different. Because I think David Ornstein's come to the conclusion that, yes, Manchester United are going to play the media as a negotiation tactic. That's what I think David Ornstein's implying. And what David Ornstein is really implying is the people in the media are getting told something different every day when they ask about United. At the moment, the media is reporting that Qatar are, look the favoured. For the last 2 weeks, they've been saying Sergeant Ratcliffe looked the favoured. A month ago, they were saying the Elliott Group or the Carlisle Group looked the favoured. I think David Ornstein's very smart, and I think he's realised, well, actually, Manchester United are not letting on who's the favourite. And again, I think that hints that they were very much playing a game with this Sergeant Ratcliffe the favourite for 2 weeks story to gate Sheikh Jassim to put that improved bidding. And I thought that was a really good point by David Ornstein, and I think it really sums up the takeover. Ornstein also said on the ownership process, clearly it hasn't been handled as smoothly as Manchester United would have liked, and even Rain Group as well, as they're in charge of this process, but these things are not easy. And he's again sort of spoke about the ownership process, and he's saying, you know what, this should have been wrapped up by now. Clearly this isn't being handled like United would have, or like United should have. And I think David Ornstein has been very honest with his interview on the takeover process. And I'm just going to see if they've got any more quotes. But what I liked about David Ornstein was he's very honest that the media get told this and that. And I think he's very much implied the media don't know a lot. Donny is back in training, people. I mean, I feel bad for Donny. He's basically missed half the season as well. Other 4 Glazers kids want $1 billion each, so the Rat needs to, and the other 2 clowns will need to come up with another $1 billion. I don't think they're that greedy. Who's out there better than Qatar? I mean, there's probably someone out there that has the same money as Qatar that could run this club better than Qatar, but I can't think of someone at the top of my head, But, potentially Amazon could have someone that's good. I'm not saying Jeff Bezos, but potentially, how Amazon Prime has been kind of doing Prime TV, the football. They could get some good people up there. But, yeah, this is definitely like De Jong and Jadon Sancho saga with the Qataris. Yeah, I mean, it's really long as well. One midfielder's not making us catch City. Well, we want to sign a midfielder, striker, centre-back and a goalkeeper reportedly, and I will cover that in Friday's video. And the British media keeps saying Manchester United fans are divided over who should buy the club. Warning, United fans wanting Qatar. It's like an 85%, 15% split, and 85% Qatar. There are people that want Sergeant Ratcliffe that aren't a big fan of Qatar. And I understood at first why people would potentially preference Sergeant Ratcliffe. But since the news came out that Sergeant Ratcliffe was going to keep the Glazers, I don't get it. Before this Sergeant Ratcliffe plan to keep the Glazers story, I thought, you know what, everyone's allowed their opinion. I think Qatar will be better. I think Qatar will be better for this club. But, some people won't be comfortable with Qatar. They want Sergeant Ratcliffe. I was like, fine. As soon as that story came out that Sergeant Ratcliffe wants to keep the Glazers, no. Big red flag for me. Big red flag for me as well. We can't get rid of Deadwood if the Rat buys the club. United getting rid of valuable assets like Maguire would give the banks. We owe over $1 billion. We owe over $1 billion as well. We need to get rid of Deadwood. And what I will do at the end of this video is I'll do a buy, loan, sell for all the players as well. The Glazers only interested in Tampa Buccaneers as well. Please come Qatar, bail our broke beloved club with ratting and leaking stadium. We need super wealth to compete with a team who cheats their way to the top. Says Mania Wang. And if PSG are hanging around for King, I reckon they'll get him. We will get Timber. I think we'll get Timber or Kim Min-jae. I think we want Kim Min-jae, but I think because of the takeover, because of United taking their time with deals and stuff, you know, it could be Timber, but I think it'll be one of the two. But I think they'll both be good transfers. I think Kim Min-jae is slightly better, but Timber is slightly younger and could be better. A lot of people do worry with Timber's lack of physicality. Would he work with Martinez? Is their weaknesses? I do think if you can address those, you know, the shortness in the defence, if you can address that in the midfield, it's not too much of a problem, but that'd be too much for United to do. If Ratcliffe takes over, we might get Danny Ings instead of Mbappe. There was actually a report that came out today that if we get Qatar, we'll get Mbappe. But I don't believe that. And Donny McTominay both back. Let's hope Garnacho's hamstring injury is not too bad. Yeah, hopefully it's just a little knock and he can play against Bournemouth not tomorrow, Saturday. It's Saturday. The Bournemouth game isn't on TV, is it? Another bloody game that's not on TV as well. And I think Frankie de Jong will step Barca. I think de Jong will step Barca. We will talk about midfielders because obviously Romano has come out today and Romano said that United will sign a midfielder. Obviously, we've been linked with Alexis Mac Allister, Moises Caicedo, Declan Rice, Orkun Kocku, Adrian Rabiot recently. We've been linked to Manuel Kone as well. You know, we've been linked to a few midfielders. Obviously, Frankie de Jong and Bellingham, but I don't think that's possible. We will talk about potential midfielders that United will sign in just a second as well. Sir Jim is a businessman. I mean, it's very much a business deal. I think Sir Jim is showing his true colours, and we're on 201 likes, so let's push for 300 likes. So please do smash that like button if you have not already as well. And just making sure I'm not too behind on live chat. Declan Rice is like to go to Arsenal. Yeah, I don't think United are going to sign Declan Rice at all. I think he's going to go to Arsenal. United should look at Lavia of Southampton. That could be a bargain deal because next summer he's got a release clause that he can go to Manchester City, but they could get him this summer for 30 to 40 million pounds as well. But I want to get back into the transfer news. I just want to make sure nothing's come out just now. I'm not missing any recent news as well. Obviously, Martinez getting a new contract. I mean, I think he deserves it, but I think we always start this kind of stuff new early. They're saying that Martinez could get a new contract, but that won't arrive till the takeover process is complete. La-di-la-di-la as well. And it said this was the interesting story. And this is the title of the video. So let me get into this before I get into the next story. But it was said, all six Glazers remain determined sellers. Qatar's latest offer is currently being assessed. Rain Group is still controlling next steps, even though 92 Foundation held direct talks with Glazers via phone. Rain Group is still firmly part of the conversations, but all six Glazers remain determined sellers. That is the interesting news that's been coming out today. I'm not saying that it's true because Ben Jacobs might be told tomorrow that they want to stay. I think Ben Jacobs has done well on this transfer thing, but I think he'll get told today that the Glazers want to sell, and then he'll report tomorrow he's been told that the Glazers don't want to sell. I think that, I think the Glazers are changing their story a lot, and that they're telling the media. And I don't even think you can get mad at these journalists because I think the Glazers are just completely changing and twisting their stories and telling the media one thing, then telling them another thing. And I think that is particularly frustrating, and it must be for people in the media as well. Mac Allister, I think, will go to Liverpool. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I think Mac Allister will go to Liverpool. I think Rice will go to Arsenal. I think Bellingham will go to Real Madrid. I think Frankie de Jong will stay at Barcelona. I think Lavia will go to Liverpool or Chelsea because United will be too slow to get that deal done. I think that deal will be done quickly because Southampton have been relegated and they will want to get on with their transfer window, their ins and outs for their championship season. I think the Orkun Kocku to United could happen. I think United could go in for a Moises Caicedo last-minute panic bid and break the bank in August if they're not organised enough in the transfer window. I think United could potentially look at Maddison, but I do think he'll probably end up at Newcastle because I think that, again, Leicester potentially being relegated, they'll want to get their business done early. I'd look at Orkun Kocku, I'd look at Rabiot, and I think maybe a late move for Moises Caicedo I wouldn't rule out right now with midfielders. I would also keep an eye on Manuel Kone to United, but we'll have to see where that happens. I don't think we'll get Sabitzer, but I do think we're very, very behind in the transfers and we can't do anything yet. I know we want Kim Min-jae and Timber. I know we want Harry Kane, and I know we want a midfielder, and I know we've been looking at goalkeepers reportedly, actually, and it's not come out from a tier 1 source. So, but United apparently held talks with Diogo Costa's representatives today, but that did not come out from a tier 1 source as well. But continuing on with the news, there's been quite a few interesting stories, been quite a few interesting developments that I do want to get into. So remember, smash that like button if you're anti-Glazers, and let's get into the next story as well. Manchester United have reportedly made an inquiry about Crystal Palace centre-back Mark Gahey. Very good, very young centre-back. Palace have got some very good young talent coming through. We do need a centre-back. I still prefer Kim Min-jae or Jurien Timber, but Mark Gahey, depending on the price, United also inquiring about him. Alex Disasi. And oh my god, I forgot his name. The guy that plays for Nice. the guy that Tabedo, I can't remember his name. The centre-back post for Nice, who's his name is absolutely slipped my mind. I should remember that. But it was also said by a guy for TalkSport, and Neil, who works for TalkSport, did say this today. He said the latest on the Manchester United takeover, and he said Qatar's latest offer has been made off the back of the Glazers' requests. So TalkSport, a journalist for TalkSport, and TalkSport in terms of, opinions, they talk a lot of waffle when they know nothing. And in terms of transfers, TalkSport do have genuine sources, so don't write them off when they say stuff regarding transfers. And he says Qatar's latest offer has been made off the back of the Glazers' requests. So that would very much suggest this Glazers doing all these Sergio Ratcliffe stuff is because they wanted a bigger bid from Qatar. He said they are not prepared. He said that Qatar are not prepared to take no for an answer and remain as determined as ever to buy United. So Anil is one of 6 or 7 journalists saying Qatar will not take no for an answer. They're determined to buy United. We had reports yesterday that Qatar would come back with another bid if this wasn't enough for the Glazers. And we had Mark Ogden, who went on the United stand a couple of days ago, and he said that the representatives of Sheikh Jassim have been told not to return to Qatar until it's done. So the fact remains, if they have to bid up again, the Qataris will do. So we've got a couple of sources now saying that if they had to bid again, the Qataris will do. They do not want to lose. They are not determined to lose, etc., etc. Now, this could potentially explain why this takeover process doesn't look like it's done till June, because although the Qataris have bidded 5.5 billion and the Glazers should have set 5.5 billion because that is a massive overpayment, the Glazers know how bad the Qataris want United, and they know they could milk them for another couple hundred million more if need be, because they know that how much the Qataris want United and how determined they are, etc., etc. And the Glazers don't care if it's ruining Ten Hag's transfer window, or if it's dagging on the process or pissing off the Rain Group, because it means that the Glazers get more money, which means that the takeover process just drags on and it drags on and it drags on, and it's being tired. 6 billion bid, then a deal is done. I wish it was is easy to say that, but it's like, I think it's about business for Qatar. They also don't want to say, oh yeah, you give us a price and we'll match that. That is negotiation. They don't want to come across weak in negotiation, because this could affect future business as well. And the only way the 6 mad owners of Man United is going to sell the club is if Qatar makes a bid and also add to take Maguire out of the team. Says Prince Hamad bin Fazza. I think the Glazers are going to try and see how much money they can get off Qatar. I do think if it's 5.5 billion and that doesn't include the pledged investment, I think the Glazers would be ridiculous to turn that down. But the Glazers are pretty ridiculous. I mean, look at the hair that Avram's been rocking. All the money he takes out of this club, at least get a hair transplant. And United now talks to Casemiro of a new contract. Well, that's an interesting one because he's old. I get Martinez, but I wouldn't give Casemiro a new contract as well. And Qatar paid the money the Glazers wanted. $6 billion has been offered, which is $6.2 billion. Reportedly, that has been offered. I mean, reportedly, we've offered $7 billion. The thing is, and I wouldn't even, and maybe it's just me, but I do think even if Qatar went, here's £6 billion, the Glazers would say, no, we want $7 billion now. Like the Glazers are greedy. You could say one thing, and then they'll probably say another. I don't trust them one bit. Those Glazers, I don't trust them as well. Romano said that United will look to sign a midfielder in the summer, and he says that he is of the belief that United will sign a top midfielder in the summer. Samuel Luckhurst has also said that United will sign a top midfielder in the summer, and I do want to talk about who those midfielders could potentially be in the summer, players that United have been linked to and stuff. But I want to ask you guys before I get into that news, who would you sign? Which midfielder would you sign? Mine, I would break the bank. I would go all out for Moises Caicedo. I'd literally pay up to 100 million for the guy. He can play right back. He can play centre back. He can play next to Casemiro. He's so young. He's so good. I think he's absolutely fantastic as well. So I would look to do something for Moises Caicedo, but I'm interested to see what you would do. I think Declan Rice is good, but I would go for Moises Caicedo. I'd also look at Lavia as well. I am going to do a video tomorrow. I'm going to get some information, hopefully today, about a more concise list about who United's transfer targets are and who they've spoken to, who they've looked at. So tomorrow's video will actually deep dive into, let's be honest, who's a target, who isn't a target. Is this rumour true? Is this not rumour true? And actually have a good look at the transfer window as well. And we'll do that tomorrow. But what I actually wanted to do is actually keep loan, buy, sell for Manchester United players in just a second. But if you're anti-Glazers, smash the like button as well. We will talk about Manchester City winning the treble. We will talk about general update news and stuff as well. But I think that frustrating position right now is that this is such a big transfer window for Manchester United. Manchester United have got so much ahead. We need to catch City. They're on the verge of a treble. They're getting further and further away from us. I think the fact that City just pumped 4 past Real Madrid, beat them 4-0, made Real Madrid look like boys. Man City were the men, Real Madrid were the boys. And this is 13, 14 time Champions League winner Real Madrid. Maybe we should have took a Casemiro, because without Casemiro, Real Madrid have fallen apart in the Champions League. Valverde was shocking yesterday. But the fact that Manchester City have pumped Real Madrid and torn them apart has just said to us we're so far behind Man City. And the only way we can catch them is we have the same kind of wealth as them, which is Qatar. Which is like, Glazers, hurry up, get this Qatar deal done, etc., etc. I'm bored, I'm fed up, get this takeover done, because what we really highlighted is United need to crack on with this transfer window. United completely need to crack on with this transfer window to catch Qatar. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to actually get into the Manchester United squad, because it's been said that Manchester United are going to have to sell to buy. Manchester United are going to have to sell to buy, okay? That is what's been said about our transfer window. So, Tommy and Jack Butland, I'd just keep around because who cares? Now, Dean Henderson and David De Gea. I think if we sign a new goalkeeper, both should be sold. If we don't sign a new goalkeeper, we're obviously going to have to keep one and sign a new goalkeeper next season. I don't think a lot of people propping Dean Henderson because they don't like De Gea. I think that Dean Henderson, not saying he's a better goalkeeper than De Gea because he does let in some silly shots, but I think when you think about Ten Hag's system and maybe Manchester United's limitations and weaknesses from playing out of the back, Dean Henderson could potentially be more suited to the way that Ten Hag wants to play. So there is the debate, do we sell De Gea and keep Dean Henderson? However, having United offering De Gea a new contract, I think, and Dean Henderson being worth significantly more money, I think United will keep De Gea and sell Dean Henderson, because we reportedly could get 30 million for Dean Henderson. Now, I think if you can get 30 million for Dean Henderson, you could go and replace him with another goalkeeper. So that's what I do with goalkeepers in terms of the United squad as well. I think Raya could be a first choice. I think Raya's a very, very good goalkeeper. In terms of defenders, Lindelof I'd keep. Without Maguire, he's proved he's solid. I'd sell, we could get 5 million for him. Phil Jones, he's already gone. Harry's still here. It's unbelievable. And Harry Maguire, I'd sell. Reportedly, West Ham preparing to pay 25 million for Harry Maguire. Lisandro Martinez, I would keep. Tyrone Malacia, I would keep. Rafael Varane, I would keep. Diogo Dalot, I would keep. Luke Shaw, I would keep. Tellez, I think we can get 5 million for sell. Wan-Bissaka, I know there was rumours of him going, but I'd keep. I think right back, while I think we need a right back long term, I think our priority is striker, centre mid, centre back, goalkeeper. Then we can opt for right back, because I think Wan-Bissaka and Dalot have done a solid job. So Wan-Bissaka, I would keep. Brandon Williams, I would sell. Axel Tuanzebe has gone. And obviously Tedder Mengi and Alvaro Fernandez will go out on loan. So just from the defence, 5'10", I reckon we can get 15 million from Bailly, Tellez and Williams, and about 25 million from Maguire. I reckon we can get 40 million from selling the defence, 25 million from selling Henderson, and we save 5 million on wages. So I think if we go through the midfield, the deadwood just in the defence and the goalkeeper right away, you could save 70 million through sales and wages. So going into the midfield here, what would I do with United's midfield? Bruno I'd keep, Eriksen I'd keep, Sabitzer, he's not impressed me enough to go back in for him. He's 29 and injury prone. I would actually get Rabiot on a free. I'd get rid of Sabitzer. I'd get Rabiot on a free to replace him. And then I would go and break the bank for Moises Caicedo. Ahmad, I would keep. I would utilise him. I know he's kind of playing as a right-sided cam in Sunderland's system, which is sometimes how Odegaard has been deployed. However, he has similar attributes to Anthony. So even though Amad Diallo doesn't have that explosive pace to maybe be the touchline winger that Erik ten Hag wants, I think Amad Diallo has certain attributes where he could really evolve under Ten Hag, and I think that he could be good in that 10 role as well. So I'd obviously keep Amad Diallo. I think he deserves a go. Fred I would keep for one more season because I think he's a good bench option. I thought he was really solid when he came off the bench versus Wolves. Casemiro I'd obviously keep. Facundo Pellistri I'm going to put out on loan. I like Pellistri. He's not getting many minutes. With Amad Diallo coming back, he's going to get even less minutes. So I put Facundo Pellistri out on loan. Donny van de Beek. We need money. We need money. We need to sell to buy. And I love Donny van de Beek, and I think that he's not have enough. He didn't have enough chances at United, and he's not been played in his best positions when he's had chances. And when he did get a chance, and he did play well, we got injured, and nothing seemed to work for Donny van de Beek. But if you can get 15 million for Donny van de Beek, and United need to sell to buy, and United needs, you know, 100 million midfielder and 100 million striker, or an 80 million midfielder and 80 million striker. As much as I hate to say this, but I would be selling Donny van de Beek to raise some funds as well, which I hate to say. And McTominay would obviously sell. 25 million bid from Newcastle. West Ham offered 25 million for McTominay reportedly, and United told them they want 40 million for McTominay, which, I mean, apparently United want 40 million for McTominay. Bloody hell, beggars can't be choosers as well. And I mean, that's mad as well. And continuing on, Igbo had loan, Hannibal Meshby had loan. Kobe may, you know, could maybe have a bit of a Garnacho impact, but I'd actually, he's very young. I'd say loan him the season after. Just see what he does, maybe, may know. Martial, I don't know what I'm going to do with Martial, because I think we need 2 strikers. Because let's say we sign Kane and he gets injured, we're back to square one. But Martial's unreliable. Rashford can be that backup striker. I'd probably keep Martial as a bench option, because I'd probably keep Martial as a bench option for another season. Rashford I'd keep. Greenwood, well, let's just ignore that one, because I think he'll go to Italy. And I think that'll be the right thing to do for United. I think, look, it's a difficult situation. People aren't going to be happy if Greenwood, but some people want Greenwood back. They say the charges have been dropped. He's back with the girl. She's forgiven him, etc., etc. Some people with Greenwood, they can't unhear those audio notes. They were very, very horrid. So, you know, people were naturally not going to want Greenwood back. Sell him to Italy. Don't give him to a rival. I think that's what United should do. Anthony, keep, obviously. Sancho's a difficult one, because I like Sancho. I believe there's a banging player in Sancho. But I don't know if Sancho's made for Ten Hag ball. He's not really got the pace to be a touchline winger, which is what Ten Hag ball thrives off. But he's got such fantastic potential. It hasn't been helped by the fact he doesn't have an overlapping fullback. It hasn't been helped by, you know, not having a good striker. Maybe Sancho becomes really good if you sign Kane. The thing with Sancho is I'd give him one last chance, but if someone offered me 50 million for Sancho, I'd say yes. That's how I feel about Sancho. If some team offered us some money for Sancho and it was 50 million, I'd say yes, but I would give him one more season. Begos, yeah, you can go. Alanga, you can go. Shula Satiri, I'd obviously loan, and Garnacho, I'd obviously keep. So that is what I would probably do with the Manchester United squad as well. Some people say Sancho needs to go, and I'm getting frustrated with Sancho, but I just believe there's someone there as well. Sancho is too weak, in my opinion, if someone came in with good money like Dortmund. I think if someone comes in with good money, you've got to let them go. Like, I like Sancho, but if United need to sell to buy, and we need to buy a lot, we need to buy, in my opinion, 2 midfielders, a striker, I sent about a goalkeeper this summer. On top of, I still think we need another right back. I still think we need another young striker on top of the big striker we signed. We need to sell to buy. I think that's what you've got to do. West Ham, big up West Ham in the Conference League. I hope West Ham win that tournament. Big up West Ham as well, playing tonight. We've got, who's playing tonight? Brighton, Newcastle on later, which will be interesting as well. And we need money. Sancho, Rashford has to go. Well, I think realistically, if Sancho has to go, then I think we do need money. Anyway, that is how I'd rank the Manchester United players. That is who I'd keep. That is who I'd sell. Let me know your thoughts on that. I do want to go back onto the news. Pardon me, before I wrap up the live stream, but make sure you smash that like button and, of course, subscribe down below if you're new as well. Crystal Palace is open to the departure of Mark Gahey. Tottenham and Manchester United made inquiries. That was obviously what we were talking about earlier, just making sure there's no big news buzzing around. Obviously, Donny back in the squad. And then I obviously wanted to speak about this story because this is obviously in the thumbnail and I've not really mentioned it. But it was what Mr. Fabrizio Romano said. He said, regardless of what happens with Sabitzer, Eric Ten Hag wants a new midfielder in the summer. And Romano's confirmed and said, look, United are going to sign a new midfielder in the summer. United want a midfielder in the summer. And tomorrow's video will kind of talk about who that midfielder may be. Didn't mean to click on that. Who that midfielder may be. I think, as I said, Mac Allister goes to Liverpool. Bellingham goes to Madrid. Rice goes to Arsenal. Maddison goes to Newcastle. Lavia goes to Chelsea or Liverpool. I keep an eye on the Feyenoord boy. I'd keep an eye on Kone. I'd keep an eye on Rabiot. I could see United doing a last-minute panic bid for Moises Caicedo and breaking the bank, depending on how much money we make through sales and who our owners are. That's what I'd keep an eye on. So, and that's what I'll say on transfers as well. But to compete in the UCL, you're going to need squad depth. Exactly. I think lack of squad depth. I think we've had a really good start to the season, but since that Sevilla game, since the Martinez and Varane injury, everything's been a slog. Liverpool winning a few games, top four kind of under pressure. Everything's been a bit of a slog. We go away to Bournemouth tomorrow, or Saturday, sorry, away game. Should beat Bournemouth. They've got nothing to play for. They're safe now, but you never know. Everything's been a bit of a slog, and I think that's because we need depth. But guys, I am going to wrap up the live stream here. I want to thank everybody who watched today's video. Please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I think Brighton-Newcastle draw would be a good result because if we beat Bournemouth, then we can bish bash bosh into third place. We can go above Newcastle. Newcastle do have harder games than us. Let's hope for a Villa win. Let's hope for a Newcastle-Brighton draw. And let's hope for a United win this weekend. So smash a like, smash a subscribe. Big up everybody for watching. I'll see you next time. If there's any breaking news, I might be back later. Bye.